There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this.
Well, it was the night we've been waiting months for. The much-anticipated showdown between Republican candidate for president Donald Trump and the Democrats' nominee Kamala Harris. This was the first time these two have ever met, let alone taken to the stage in an all-out presidential debate hosted by ABC. So how did it go? Who prevailed over who? Was the debate an indication of who will become the president of the United States at the November 5th election? Let's take you through it all. I'm going to break down this for you. Let's take you through all the best parts so you don't have to go looking for it. So while the nearly 2-hour presidential debate is a lot for us to unpack, let's go through some of the best moments between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. To kickstart, we already knew that immigration would be one of the hotly contested political topics of the debate. Why? Well, Donald Trump basically thinks that he aced immigration when he was in power and that his policies, such as Remain in Mexico and Title 42, worked. And to be fair, they did. Under the Trump administration, there was a lot less migrants legally crossing the border from Mexico into the US. Here's a graph from Statistica that shows from 1990 to the 2023 fiscal year. You can see there that in those Trump years from about 2017 to 2019, the numbers were a lot lower, sitting between about 300,000 to 800,000 yearly apprehensions. By 2020, it drops down to 400,000 due to COVID-19. But by 2021, once the Biden administration gets in, it shoots right back up to 1.6 million. By 2022, it's at 2.2 million. And by 2023, 2 million. So why in June, over 3.5 years into the Biden administration's term, did they only just implement new actions that would bar migrants who cross the southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum? The Veep's response? Well, she blamed Trump for failing to sign her bill.
But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing.
Donald Trump's response went on to scold Kamala Harris for letting millions of migrants into the country. But in what usually is a strong area for the former president, his rebuttal went in an unexpected way when discussing the brunt the border towns have taken.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Despite the fact that that claim has been debunked, the 45th president came back swinging, taking down the Biden administration for the migrant influx in the last few years, which Trump believes has significantly increased crime in the United States.
Crime in this country is through the roof, and we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
Now, the economy was always going to ruffle their feathers. Donald Trump has always maintained that he excels at running the country's economy, but Kamala Harris believes she can also do that, as well as building up middle America, a proposal that she dubbed as Opportunity America.
I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people.
But we have to remember that the economy, including jobs and the stock market, is the most important issue for Americans. On practically every poll, it sits at the highest on the list of prioritised issues to be handled. For instance, the latest New York Times poll had the economy sitting at the highest priority issue on 22%, while the latest Pew poll saw 81% of respondents call it very important. So how will these two do? Well, Harris was up first. She made it clear her entire message is to build up America's middle class, especially for working families. And Trump, well, he wants order restored to the time when he was in power.
We've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before.
Tariffs became a hotly contested topic as well at the debate over which candidate has handled the threat of China better. The Biden administration still has most of Trump's tariffs in place 3.5 years later.
China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs.
Onto abortion now, arguably one of the most important topics at the debate and for Americans. Where do Donald Trump's policies lie on abortion? He backs the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade in June 2022, which gave the power for states to determine their own rules surrounding abortion. He vehemently denied that he would sign a national abortion ban, despite Kamala Harris continuing to claim that he would. Trump took a swing at Kamala Harris's Vice President Tim Walz on his abortion policies with some divisive words.
But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born.
In a passionate response, as this truly is Kamala Harris's area to shine, she hit back at Donald Trump, setting the scene for why the right to have an abortion is still such a big issue.
Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended.
Okay, so what about Trump's 4 criminal cases? He called it a weaponization from the Democratic Party and its loyal organizations.
They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York.
The United States has been Ukraine's largest donor since Russia's invasion in February 2022. Since then, Congress has given $175 billion to the war-torn country. And while Ukraine desperately needs the money, when the US is in a cost of living crisis, much like most of the world, American voters might question why not strengthen our own economy first. So which candidate would handle the situation between Russia and Ukraine better?
She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean.
Nearly 2 hours of back and forth and so much to unpack. The debate was riddled with all the theatrics you'd expect from 2 candidates vying for the world's most important job. So what were their closing remarks?
The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first.